Hi, I'm Megan Wood, and I'm the owner and tattoo artist at Rose Noir Tattoo Studio in San Leandro, California. I'm speaking to you today to advocate for the government's permission to immediately reopen not only my business, but all tattoo shops and all personal service businesses in counties that have not yet been allowed to do so. Tattoo shops are more than competent to reopen safely during the COVID pandemic. It is my hope that by explaining and sharing my point of view, that I am demonstrating my competency and my ability to operate my business safely during this pandemic, so that I may earn a living for myself and regain the part of myself and the part of my life that is my passion, which is my tattoo career and business. If after reading and listening to my message, if you agree in any way, please like and share so we can save the livelihoods of people in the personal services industries and show support for those who really need it. I can no longer sit back and watch my business and the business of others in the personal service industries crumble to pieces. It is absolutely my responsibility to advocate for myself and others. Our sacrifices have largely gone unnoticed, and our abilities to operate safely have been overlooked. It needs to end now. In order to be approved to begin the operation and ownership of a tattoo body art facility, a thorough health inspection is performed by a health inspector of the respective county. In addition, all tattoo facilities must provide yearly bloodborne pathogen training and testing to licensees, submit lengthy documents including floor plans, materials of the floor, materials of the wall, materials of chairs, of cabinets, of any surface in the tattoo procedure area. We must submit an infection prevention and control plan and a list of our disinfectant products. We must also renew our establishment license and individual practitioners' license permits every year. And we must also pass randomized inspections yearly. During our initial inspection, the inspector observes proper clean setup, sanitation, disinfection, disposal of contaminants, disposal of sharps, proper storage of materials and supplies, use of PPE, gloves, masks, and aprons, sterilization records and valid expiration dates, understanding of consent forms, and the ability to teach aftercare to every client. We must also submit the Infection Prevention and Control Plan, which is a detailed document providing a thorough plan of how to avoid spread of disease and how to avoid cross-contamination. My descriptions of how cross-contamination is prevented resulted in a meticulous 13-page report, which increased to about 75 pages with additional documentation when sterilization records, MSDA, cleaning chemical labels, and instructions, consent forms, aftercare instructions, etc. were added to my plan. When the inspection is passed and permits are granted to operate, it means artists have proven their everyday ability to use personal protective equipment, to use medical grade disinfectants, and how to sanitize, and have demonstrated their ability to review consent forms that include medical conditions that may deem clients unable to undergo tattoo procedures safely. All of this is completed as a part of the application process just to gain the county's permission to own and operate a tattoo facility. I personally have always passed my inspections, my tests, my renewals, and all on the first attempt with no remarks against me or my shop. Kind of sounds like I've been training for COVID-19 my whole career. So in an industry heavily regulated by county health departments, for my location, I'm regulated by Alameda County Department of Environmental Health. Why are we considered unsafe to reopen? Walmart, Bevmo, Home Depot, Total Wine are all considered essential. Bevmo, Total Wine? Really? How does that make sense? They are not required to go through a rigorous proof of sanitation just to apply for a permit and be granted permission to commence business. And now, non-essential businesses are reopened, yet they still lack sanitation training. I was inspected, tested, and passed before there even was a pandemic. I and other tattoo artists have proven that we know how to operate safely under the threat of infection. Yet these stores have hundreds, if not thousands, of customers daily, making it near impossible to maintain the level of sanitation that we do. According to the CDC, as we all know by now, COVID is spread person to person through respiratory droplets of an infected individual that make their way via sneeze, cough, or speech into another person's mouth or nose. Also, according to the CDC, there are steps we can take to prevent the spread. Frequent hand washing or hand sanitizing, avoiding close contact with people who are sick, that should be obvious. Covering your cough or sneeze, cleaning and disinfecting frequently touched objects and surfaces daily, and maintaining a distance of 6 feet from other people. Additionally, the CDC states that face coverings may help prevent people who have COVID-19 from spreading the virus to others. They recommend that people wear face coverings in public and when around people outside of their household, especially when other social distancing measures are difficult to maintain. For years, I and my shop have hand washed frequently as required by my profession. I do not allow sick individuals to undergo tattoo procedures as required by my profession. I disinfect all surfaces as required by my profession. And guess what? I can definitely add wearing a mask to maintain my profession. I will 100% acknowledge that I cannot stay 6 feet away from my clients during the tattoo process, but given my past health inspections, given my disinfection and sanitation procedures, and given the ease of wearing masks and face shields, and given my years of training, I know that without a doubt I can offer a safe environment to myself and to my clients where the possibility of disease is incredibly low. Now, I did some math. As of this past weekend, July 26th, about 454,000 people have tested positive for coronavirus in California. That's approximately 1.15% of the population that either has been or is currently infected with coronavirus. So I take it that I have a 1.15 chance of encountering a person who has tested positive, whether recently or months ago. The percentage of positive cases is even lower in my county at just 0.62%, not even 1 in 100. Even if I did encounter an individual who was COVID positive, there is only a possibility they may spread it to me or around my shop, not a certainty. That's where disinfection and personal protective equipment come into play. Tools that I've used my entire career are now helping me feel like I've got some pretty good chances. Yet, I have sacrificed my entire livelihood and tens of thousands of dollars for the greater good. I have followed the rules. I have done my part. I have sacrificed, and I am tired of being let down by the government. I refuse to watch my greatest pride and joy, my greatest achievement so far, my life's work wash down the drain because of a hypothetical infection prediction. Many in favor of the lockdown state the need and desire to come together and to care for your neighbor to stop the spread. Yes, I 100% agree, and that's fantastic, but also extend your compassion to your neighbors and your friends so that they don't go bankrupt and become a different kind of COVID casualty. Now let me back up for a moment to around noon on March 16th, 2020, when the entire Bay Area issued a 12-hour notice to mandatorily close all non-essential businesses, for 3 full weeks through no fault or wrongdoings of any business owner. I heard the news sometime between 4 and 5 p.m. because I was working, and immediately, with my reaction, I felt shocked that a virus is causing a shutdown and I'm actually experiencing it in my lifetime. Mad that I had very little notice to comply with the demand of closing, leaving me in a difficult situation with a lot of customers to contact and no income for the duration of this shutdown. Scared that maybe this virus is far more dangerous than I thought and realized. And confused because Total Wine, Bevmo, and grungy liquor stores down the street that smell like vomit are considered essential? Now let's fast forward to present day. As I write and make this video presentation, it is July 27th. It's 134 days into the shelter-in-place orders. I have had zero personal income for the entire duration of this economic shutdown, just like so many others. The little I have received from the government assistance programs, the PPP loans and unemployment benefits, has gone straight to paying bills at my business and still leaves me greatly in the negative each month. These bills on a closed business include rent, lease, mortgage, all the utilities like electricity, internet, phone, water, garbage, insurance, security alarm systems, license renewals, permit renewals, bloodborne pathogen trainings, and so many more expenses required to maintain a business, even if it is closed. The business account is dried up. The personal savings are dwindling at an alarming rate, and there still is no indication of when the shutdown will end for small service-based businesses. Now, if you do not own a storefront, imagine for a moment, if you will, the extreme financial burden of paying all of your usual personal expenses times about 3 to account for the price of a business, with not one penny coming in. Please, seriously, take a moment to ponder this scenario. Maybe you have $6,000 in expenses. Maybe you have $8,000. Maybe you even have $10,000 or more every single month that you need to pay. These expenses are necessary and non-negotiable, and there's no cash to pay for it. How much debt will you incur? How long will your savings last? How is your little savings account affecting your future plans and goals, like the goal of homeownership or your plans to take your family on a nice vacation? This is exactly how small business owners who have been completely shut down throughout shelter-in-place feel. But for us, it is absolutely real, not an imaginary scenario. It is far more real than the possibility of getting sick. Losing everything you have is an absolute certainty if the government does not either let us reopen safely or compensate us an actual living wage and business expenses, and it needs to happen now. It seems to me that there is a public misconception of the helpfulness of the SBA PPP loan funding conjured up by the U.S. Congress. The PPP loan program is not as great and beneficial as it should be in my own personal experience. General terms of the loan to be eligible for forgiveness are that funds must be used for an 8-week period after being received. The majority of those funds must be used to pay employees. Originally, it was drafted at 75%, but it's been amended to 60% of the funds must be used to pay employees. The leftover remaining funds can go to expenses such as rent and utilities. This is great if you're an employee at a small business. You've pretty much got your paycheck guaranteed for 2 full months. But this has been going on for 4.5 months now. So what happens to paychecks for the next 2 months? And what about all the paychecks moving forward? And what about the expenses necessary to keep a business in business, like paying for your building? If the bills can't be paid to keep your building, the business closes and the jobs are lost. This is a tricky situation because unemployment benefits could help the individual employees if they're laid off, which would allow the loan disbursement money to be used by small businesses to stay afloat. That way, those jobs can be guaranteed after this 8-week period when the economy reopens and people can come back to work. But under those circumstances, the loans will not be forgiven. And most small businesses wouldn't even apply for the loan if it won't be forgiven because the burden of repaying in an uncertain financial future is far too great. Cue the next problem with PPP. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, 75% of small businesses applied for PPP, but fewer than 40% received funding by May, when the height of the lockdown was already 2 months strong. The application process is complicated, and the loan amount did not seem to be significantly influenced by the status of being closed, partially closed, or reduced revenue because consumers aren't spending as much. At this point in time, many businesses remained open for the entire duration of shelter in place. Some have closed parts of their business, for example, a restaurant closing for dine-in but offering takeout. Some have closed temporarily but have been allowed to reopen, and some are still completely closed, like me and the other personal service industries. These last few months have been a living nightmare for small business owners, especially the ones that are still closed. I have had many sleepless nights. I've experienced increased anxiety when I had none before. I've had more breakdowns than I care to admit, and I've all but lost my artist's creativity because of my immense stress. I am still here fighting for my chance to regain my livelihood. Are you with me?